Welcome back to Makeup Mondays. It seems like we just did this last week. Today we're going to be taking a short break from the how-tos to take a look at some of the greatest stage makeup looks and endeavors to ever exist on Broadway. Now before I begin, let me throw two things out there. Firstly, this is just my opinion. These are merely the first 5 characters that popped into my head. There are many that did not make it to the list. It doesn't mean they're not great. These are just my personal favorites. And secondly, do be aware that these analyses reveal a little bit about how that particular makeup works and looks in the show. If you're trying to avoid spoilers, or perhaps you don't want the magic ruined for you, feel free to sit this one out. But if you're still here, let's get down to business. Starting us off at number 5 on the list is a character from the first ever Broadway musical produced by Disney, and that character is Lumiere. The interesting thing about Lumiere is that his makeup is a combination of literalism and symbolism. When Disney first assembled a team to bring Beauty and the Beast to life on stage, the idea was to make the characters look as much like the enchanted objects they're supposed to be, while also trying to keep their humanity intact. Though some productions try and make the actors look like they are literal objects, the original makeup for Lumiere was based around a prosthetic headpiece that resembles a candle melting down over the face of the late actor Gary Beach. Most prosthetics are made from a standard foam latex material, but in this case, they were cast with a special flame retardant substance because the original makeup featured a real working flame coming right out of the top of Lumiere's head. What really cements this look as a great one in my mind is the almost comical drip of wax that trickles down Lumiere's face and rests on his nose. In my personal opinion, it's the little touches like that that make looks like Lumiere's a truly impressionable one. We're not out of this show yet, because bringing us to number 2 is the title character from the same musical, The Beast. Unlike the enchanted objects, designer John Dodds decided to go with a more literal approach when bringing the Beast to life. While paying respect to the original design in the film, the goal wasn't to merely indicate to the audience that he was a beast. The question that Dodds asked himself when taking on the task was, what would a human being actually look like if they were slowly turning into a creature? It was the most transformative process of its time. Terrence Mann was fitted with several different facial prosthetics and a headdress that connected to an accordion-like back hump, which then connected to a bodysuit. The facial prosthetics were then lined with different types of artificial hairs to give the Beast his grisly appearance. The Beast also has a set of fangs. However, they were attached to the outside of his mouth, not the inside. This enabled Terrence Mann to still speak and sing perfectly clearly while maintaining the appearance that he had menacing canine teeth. Number 3. The Phantom in The Phantom of the Opera. Not only is it number 3 on my list, but it's probably the most iconic look in musical theater history. Makeup artist Thelma Pollard, who has been working on Phantom for 28 years since its debut, has applied all the makeup for the Phantoms that they've had since she filled the position. The process takes 2.5 hours each night, and for good reason. It's been done many different ways in many different productions over the years, but these are the staples of the look. The Phantom makeup consists of a bald cap, fake hair indicative of alopecia on top of the bald cap, the Valentino wig that goes on top of that, the facial prosthetics that give him his disfigured appearance, which then all has to sit directly under the actual Phantom mask. All in all, the Phantom makeup has more layers than an ogre, and that cheesy segue brings us directly to our next makeup, Shrek from Shrek the Musical. Shrek is another one of those challenges where the creators were tasked with recreating a look from an already iconic film. The prosthetic makeup was originally created by Michael Marino and was an incredibly daunting task because it had to cover the entirety of Brian Darcy James's head. There was no wig, there's no breathing room. Shrek was made entirely of ogre. The makeup originally consisted of a cowl and 3 foam latex pieces that built up the face and blended it into the aforementioned cowl. There are ventilation holes in the head that are disguised as freckles, sound screens built into the sides so that the actor can hear, and 2 ports in the dimples of the cheek prosthetics for the microphone to go. When I myself did this makeup for a production of the show back in 2014, it took almost 3 hours a night. All told, the original actor ended up spending almost 2,000 hours in the makeup chair total during his time as Shrek. And finally, the number 1 look, to no surprise to anyone who knows me, is Euphigenia Doubtfire from Mrs. Doubtfire the Musical. This is a look that only got to spend a few nights on the Broadway stage before the COVID-19 shutdown, but did not fail to astonish audiences before the world's longest intermission began. Once again, there are some mild spoilers here about how the makeup works in the show. Also be aware that I have no inside info on the Doubtfire look. This assessment is purely from what I was able to deduce from seeing it on its first night back in March. The complete Doubtfire transformation takes 18 seconds. You heard right, 18 seconds. The face is a flexible mask that is custom fit to Rob McClure's face perfectly. There are no adhesives involved whatsoever from what I can tell. The mask is simply attached to his face. It clasps together tightly around his head, and it's that tight custom fit that keeps it on his face and allows it to move with his expressions. What also helps is that the mask does not go above his eyeline. Rob's face as Mrs. Doubtfire from the eyes up are all his own. The mask only covers the surface area from directly under his eyes down to the neck. Not only does this theoretically make for an easier application, it also enables the actor to put his own facial expressions to good use. The speed and innovation of the application isn't the only thing that puts Doubtfire at the top of my list. The other part is this: because you believe it. The other works I've mentioned are all amazing, but the thing about Doubtfire is that if I saw her walking on the street, I probably wouldn't even notice her. Granted, she's the only character on the list that's a human and isn't either horribly disfigured or placed under some sort of spell, but the fact still stands that the transformation is seamless. The very notion that it's a person in a costume is gone. You don't see a man. You just see a sweet old lady who you probably wouldn't give a second thought to if you passed her in Target. There are plenty of ones that I missed, and it's my own humble opinion, but there you have it, my personal top 5 makeup transformations in Broadway history. Before I go, if you have the time, please consider sharing this video with someone who might like it, and consider making a donation to the Center for Performing Arts at Rhinebeck as we continue to push through these difficult times. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.